Hello, YouTube. Okay, I have my sound on this time. All right, so today I thought I would answer some questions people have been asking me questions about. From a spiritual perspective, what can you do to protect yourself from the coronavirus? So I thought I would address that and address health in general. Um, so before I go any further, I do need to make a disclaimer. I am not a trained healthcare professional. I'm not a doctor, any of that kind of stuff. So I'm not going to be giving medical advice in this video. So let's just be clear about that. Any advice, any information that you need to know medically, you need to talk to a healthcare professional or listen to announcements from whatever various sources that are monitoring the virus itself. Okay, what I'm here to talk to you about is first I'm going to share with you the practical things that I have done to stay healthy and to at my age, I technically I'm AARP. I mean, I've been getting things in the mail from AARP for years now, and I get all kinds of things, about retirement homes and all this kind of crap. I'm 56, but as far as I'm concerned, I've got the health of a 35-year-old. I feel that way. If it weren't for the gray hairs on my beard and my eyebrows, people can't really place my age. So I'm going to tell you what I've done to, I believe, to help achieve that, and that has been done through spiritual means. I am going to give you some practical advice on things like lifestyle and nutrition and supplements and things like that, which I believe have had a lot to do with it. And I'm going to tell you my personal experience with that. So let me get some of that out of the way first. And then I'm going to share with you, as I said, the 3 steps, the 3 spiritual steps. And this is from a spiritual perspective, the 3 spiritual steps that guarantee your health and guarantee long life. And we'll get to that in a moment. First thing, obvious things. Lifestyle. Here's been my experience on the planet since, I'm just telling you my experience. This is not any medical data or anything like that. This has just been my experience. My experience has been over the years that in work situations where you're with lots of people, and every time that the flu season comes around, the same people end up getting sick. These are people who are out of shape. They're unhealthily overweight. They have bad eating habits. They eat fast food, processed food, a lot of red meat and cheese and fried foods and French fries and that kind of stuff. That's one. The other one is people who smoke. Smoking is easily one of the most deadly. I mean, there are people. One of the reasons that I don't smoke, so you don't see any. I mean, from here I can't see any crow's feet. I guess if you look real close. The truth is, if I look at myself in the mirror, I have the same amount of crow's feet as I did when I was in my late 20s. It's the same. And part of that is because I stopped smoking when I was in my 20s. I used to smoke when I was, in high school and all that, and I quit in my early 20s, and I haven't smoked since then. I haven't drank alcohol. I don't imbibe alcohol. I haven't done that for almost 40 years. Obviously, I don't do any recreational drugs whatsoever. You can call it medicine all you want. You can call it, whatever you want to call it, but anytime you put a chemical in your body that causes a change in your awareness on an extreme level, it's going to tax the body, just the liver, the kidneys. It's going to cause problems. So I don't drink, I don't smoke. In terms of food, I'm not, I was for a while. There was a point in time when I had a really serious, strict diet. And that was it was very, and I did that for health reasons, and it cleared up a lot of health conditions. So I'm not a dietitian or anything, so I'm not going to try and tell you what that was, except I got rid of a lot of the obvious crap, and ate fresh vegetables and organic, and I just followed that kind of just basic advice, among some other things which aren't that important right here. In terms of supplements, your typical vitamin C, zinc, vitamin D3. Those are like the big things. Every day I take that every day, vitamin D3. Sunlight, don't go out into the sun if you've got fair skin like me without some kind of sun protection, but that's the equivalent of getting lots of sun. The sun, the other thing that I've seen reports that show statistics that people who spend time out in the sun are far less likely, which means they get vitamin D3 in their body. People who spend time in the sun, exercising, enjoying the outdoors, are far less likely to get colds and flu. All right. So I'm not speaking in terms of the coronavirus, other than I am quite certain that following those same rules will, at the very least, do no damage to you. You will certainly be better off facing any illness if your body is healthy. Okay. At the end, I'll talk about some things about what is readily available about the coronavirus, which should reduce some of the panic. But let me just get that common sense stuff out of the way. So bear in mind, that is the basis of my life. If you're smoking cigarettes, if you're smoking weed, if you're getting drunk, if you're taking, chemicals and getting high, if you're eating crappy food, then stop. Just stop doing that. That is, what ends up happening a lot of times is that people who have all that garbage in their system, is that when you get any virus, even just your basic cold, what'll happen is that the immune system kicks in and says, let's flush all the garbage. And so that's what all the mucus is, and the coughing and the diarrhea. All that is the body trying to get rid of all the toxins, because all it knows is that something is causing it a problem, and so it's going to try and get rid of all the foreign substances. So if you're living clean, common sense would tell you there's a lot less of the gunk for the body to try and get rid of. Okay? So there's that basic thing. Let's just get that out of the way. Now let's talk about the spiritual aspect. From a spiritual perspective, what can you do to prevent yourself? What can you do to keep yourself healthy? There are 3 steps. And from a spiritual perspective, there are 3 steps. The first one is, this is the most important. The first one is what I keep teaching. You see, this core thing that I teach is, that's why I say, the most important book that I have is this one. The Shamanic Secret Commandment to a Perfect Life. If you can master what's in that book, everything else will become secondary, including health. Because what I've just described about what I do to keep myself healthy, the practical things, and we haven't gotten into the 3 spiritual steps yet, so just hold on. But the practical things that I do to keep myself the practical things that I do to keep myself healthy and young are based in that one book. Not that there's anything in that book that says, here's what you need to do to stay healthy. There's nothing in the book that says that. But that one principle guides my actions. And when I'm operating and being guided intuitively from that one perspective, anything that comes into my reality that's going to be unhealthy, my instinct and my body go, I don't like this. And so just because I want to feel better, I will stop doing this and start doing that. It just happens to be that those are also the kind of life habits that medical and spiritual experts have been saying for thousands of years. If you want to be healthy, do these things, don't do these things. So if you are doing these things that and things that I haven't mentioned that are damaging to you, it's because you are in conflict with the one secret commandment. And there's a video on it. You can watch it on my channel, the video on the one secret commandment to keep you happy. For just the one secret commandment to life. So what that book says, the first step is you have to know what your hang on here a second. You have to know what your soul desire is. By the way, anybody coming on here, if you've got a question, write the word question before you say, so otherwise I may miss it. There's a question here that I will get to. Your soul desire. So let's go back to the beginning again. I kicking this dead horse every time I come on, but it's the most important thing, and it's frustrating because it's obvious to me that some people either aren't getting it or aren't taking it seriously, or it hasn't sunk in, or they're not taking action on it. That's okay. It can be challenging. Before you incarnated, you were an infinite spirit. You were omnipotent, omniscient, and you lived in bliss. You chose to become human. That's the first assumption you have to, if you're not able to at least mentally adopt this assumption, everything else I say may or may not stick. So this is the first thing. You chose to be here. We're talking an omniscient, omnipotent, eternal being chose to become human. You chose to be the person that you are, and you chose to have the body that you have, and you chose to have the parents that you have. You chose to have the life. You chose to be born in a specific country under certain circumstances. You chose that. If you don't adopt that, at least keep that in your mind as I go through it. You can throw it away later if you want. But in order to absorb what I'm saying, and again, if you want what I have, you got to do what I do. That's the first thing. That's the first thing I did. I remember making that decision, and that was back in my late 20s when I sat myself down. I didn't read it in a book somewhere, although you can find it in all kinds of spiritual, scriptures and blah, blah, blah. I sat myself down and I said, you know what? It doesn't, and I did because I was in a lot of pain. I was in a lot of emotional pain. I was going through major just challenges in my life. Many, as much, perhaps worse than some of you, maybe not as bad as some of you, but definitely, as bad as you can imagine it, no matter how bad your life is, that's where I was. And I said, it's not serving me to feel like a victim. So I am just going to assume from here on out that my life was my choice. Therefore, if I got myself into this, I can get myself out of it. I started from there not knowing that it was true or not. It was just a survival mechanism because I was tired of feeling like a victim. And it turned out that was the turning point in my life. That's when everything started moving towards where I'm at now. And if here I am at 56, my life now is the culmination of all of the actions and beliefs that I have had over the years. Notice I didn't say feelings or thoughts. Your feelings and your thoughts are just that. They're random things that pop in and out of your head and your body. They can't control you unless you choose to indulge and respond to them. You can choose to respond like me. I made that decision that I chose to come here and that I chose to have this life, and therefore I can choose to get myself out of these problems. So start from there. I don't care how, you don't have to believe it. It doesn't have to feel it. You just have to choose to adopt that belief. That's all you have to do. Your actions will start to change from there. So that's the first assumption, is that you have to at least come from the perspective that you chose to be here. Now, since you chose to be here and you came here as this eternal, omniscient being in this body, you brought with you, here's assumption number 2, you brought with you what you want to accomplish in this life. So your spirit chose to come here because it wanted to experience something. So again, you have to get rid of the idea that you were forced to be here, that you're a victim, that God put you here, or that beings of light forced you to reincarnate, or the universe forced you to reincarnate because of your mistakes and your sins. You got to get rid of all that. I'm just telling you from a practical perspective, those beliefs don't serve you. They just trap you. So you got to get rid of all that, and you start with the assumption that I'm this omniscient, eternal, all-powerful being. I chose to be here. There's something that I came here to experience that I wanted. Not that I was forced to, not that I had to, not that I was obliged, but something that I wanted to experience. What is that? And so I teach in the how to create a perfect career. I teach you to go through the questions that you ask yourself in order to determine what that is. And for some of you, it might be to save the world. I can't say, I'm not in you. My experience is that that's almost never the case. Those are usually coming from some other psychological, weird, garbage issues. Most of us come here to accomplish something that gives us joy. So the thing to be focusing on is your joy. If you don't have joy, no problem. It's there. You just aren't aware of it, and that's because you are not following your true path. When you're not following your true path, your joy becomes hidden. So the way to get back to it is to learn how to ask the right questions. So my joy, as I've talked to people here, is surfing. My soul came here to surf. It wanted to have fun. That's it. That's it. Whatever it is that gives you the greatest joy, gardening, surfing, skiing, motocross racing, singing, dancing, painting, being a mother, I don't know. Your soul said, I want to have fun, and I want to do that, and I want to have fun. Now, second thing. This again, I'm giving you all the assumptions. You don't have to agree with them. You don't even have to believe them. Just adopt them for this, however long I'm going to be talking. Hour-long video or whatever it is. Just hold on to these assumptions and listen to what I say. You can choose to accept them or reject them. Okay? I forgot what I was saying. So you find your joy, right? And it has to be something that's fun. That when you think about it, it's fun. If saving the world is what it is, becoming president of the world is what it is, when you think about it, you get this happy feeling, this joyous feeling. You don't get a lustful feeling. You don't get a feeling of wanting power. You get this happy feeling. It's a feeling of freedom and release and joy. Woohoo! It's that kind of a feeling. Oh, now I remember what I was going to say. Once you do that, remember that, because that feeling will fade. So if you think I'm telling you that once you find your joy, you're just going to live in it and skip around all the time, that's not what's going to happen. What's going to happen is that feeling is going to come up in you and you're going to go, and then you're going to go, hang on, I can't do that because of this, and I can't do that because of this, and then what is so-and-so going to say, and then that, and then all of a sudden it's gone. Or you'll have it and you'll be like, I'm going to be this, and for hours you're like, yeah, my life is going to be so cool, and then you're going to go to sleep and you're going to wake up the next day and you're going to go, what the hell was I thinking again? God, I can't do that. That'll never work. So just be prepared. Once you have that joyous thing, write it down. Go and write it down. I want to surf. I just want to surf. I just want to surf empty waves in beautiful semi-tropical conditions, and I don't want to work for anybody. I just want to spend all my free time surfing. This is me talking now. Whatever I do for a living, it's got to be something that I would do anyway. Something that is fun and that I would do in my spare time. That's how I live my life. That's the rule. It's worked. It's worked very well for me. And it keeps working, and it keeps getting better for me. So that's where you have to start. Okay? You start from there. That's the first step. If you can master that step, everything else will fall into line. Your diet will fall into line. Your career will fall into line. Your relationships will fall into line. It doesn't mean that you won't have to keep maintaining that. There will still be maintenance. You will still have to do construction on yourself as you continue to become conscious and get junk out of the way. It's like coming down the road and there'll be like a fallen tree. You'll have to take a saw and cut the tree apart and get it out of the way. Still keep moving forward. So I'm still having to do that. In fact, here today, this morning, I made the decision that I was going to make some lifestyle changes about some things that just really aren't, when I think about it, they're starting to drain on me and they're not bringing me the happiness that I wanted from it. So I'm going to get rid of those things out of my life, and I'm going to hone in and focus on the things that are giving me happiness and joy. So it's a continuous process, all right? So that's the first step, okay? Second step is you have to have a strong energy body. You have to. Now, the first thing to get a strong energy body is the first step. If you find out what your joy is and you take fearless action towards your joy, even though all of the resistance will come up, because as I said, the moment that giddy, happy, joyous feeling leaves, then the first thing that's going to happen is your unconscious resistance, which could be in the form of your parents telling you, you can't do that, you have to go and become an architect because your father was an architect, or you have to become a doctor because your father was a doctor, you can't be a ballerina. Arnold Schwarzenegger is a great example. The reason why I do the Arnold character, number one, is because it's fun. I'm rehoning myself. I was an actor and I was a comedian and all that. And I haven't been doing that for years, and it's fun. And I thought to myself, you got this YouTube channel. You can go and create characters on the YouTube channel. So I've created this character that I use to promote the channel and to share in a funny way. At least for me, I laugh afterwards when I watch it. Promote in a funny way things in the spiritual community that I think are inaccurate. And instead of me sitting here going, you guys are stupid for believing this and alienating people, I just let Arnold come on here and he says something really strange and outrageous and makes you laugh at the same time. Hopefully you think about it, because he's going to be talking about things that are just common sense. But because he's talking so strange like this, you laugh at it and then it's funny. Yeah. So that's me following that same thing. I'm following my joy. It makes me happy. It gets rid of the stress, and it's good for my channel. It doesn't hurt my channel. And so that's part of it too. You can't take people seriously. No matter what you do, if you step out and do something, people are going to criticize you. Again, I'm using Arnold as an example. He was a great example when he was a kid I don't know when he was born, in the 40s or 50s or whatever it was. And he decided he wanted to be an American bodybuilding movie star. He decided that when he was a little kid. He knew what his joy was. He saw it. He said, that makes me happy. I'm going to go do that. And it wasn't like he could get on a plane and do it. Everybody, including his family, told him he was crazy and he couldn't do it. He said, I don't care. I'm going to do what I want. Forget you people. I'm going to do it. And he did it. I mean, and by all odds, he shouldn't have. He's not the greatest actor in the world. He's not. His accent is ridiculous. It's hard to take him seriously. His accent is just so ridiculous. He looked goofy when he was young. I mean, he looked kind of like a goofy idiot, and he had like these big lips, and his teeth were out here, and he was big. He looked like a moron. but he didn't let any of that stop him. That's a good example of finding your joy and following it. Now, the second step, using your energy body, keeping your energy body healthy. Now, that is something, if you do follow the first step, that will automatically increase your energy. Perhaps it'll be the only thing that you need to increase your energy body. But there are things we can do. For instance, I was born with moon in the first house, and I was born during the new moon. I'm a Vedic astrologer, and what that means is that you leak energy. Why do you think I became a Qigong master? It's because once I got a hold of high level Qigong, I started doing it, I started feeling better and more powerful, and I started getting high off of it. Listen, same thing. I do the Qigong because it gets me high. It gets me higher than any external physical stimulation, any external chemical. Nothing gets me as high and as loopy and as blissed out as doing the celestial Qigong. That's why I share it with you guys. Nothing. That's the greatest natural, all natural, healthy drug there is. The benefit of that, again, I'm following my joy. That gives me joy. It makes me happy. That's the reason I started doing it, not because I was trying to be healthy. I was just trying to be happy. But the end result was that my energy body became a lot stronger and I became healthier. And then as you go and you research Taoist Qigong and Neigong and meditation, you find out that these shamans in China figured out ways to stimulate the pineal and the pituitary gland to release DMT naturally, to release all kinds of other hormones naturally, which keep the body young. They learned how to keep the organs healthy. And then they found out that the 5 organs aren't just organs in your body that keep you healthy, like filter the blood out, but they also are these life force energy capacitors that turn you into a superhuman. And so they started meditating to empower the 5 elements within their body, and then they became immortals. It all starts from the first step. Second step is a continuation of that. Okay? So that is the second step, is you've got to empower the physical body. Okay? So I'm going to stop at those two there for the moment. Now, I've got 2 links up here which I want to share with you. I've got immortality.thunderwizard.com. Go to that link, because that special isn't going to last. In the immortality.thunderwizard.com are all of the things that I told you about. Okay? The third step. So let's before I go any further. Well, all right. Before I go any further, PEMF.thunderwizard.com. I haven't promoted that, but that has had a dramatic impact. Now, that's not my product. I didn't make that. I use it. I am a distributor of it, which isn't a big deal. So if you choose to buy it, do me a favor and buy it through my link. And then let me know, because sometimes they don't. There's been people who've bought it and the company hasn't registered it. So send me a comment or something like that. Or if you have my email, send me an email and say, hey, I bought it and here's the date and here's my name. Because then I can double check. It costs you the same whether you buy it directly from them or through me. So if you want to help me out, you can give me that. But let me show you what this thing is. PEMF is, what is it? Pulsed electromagnetic field. This is the magnet that comes with it. It is the most powerful pulsed electromagnetic magnet that you can get, as far as I know. And what you do is you stick it under your bed and you sleep. Now, there are other kinds of things out there. You can buy these things that have, magnets on them, or even some pulse things, and they'll go for like 30 minutes and they cost a hell of a lot of money. And I don't know why you would want to do that when you can be have this under your bed for 8 hours. And it's if I were to turn it on right now, and if I took like a spoon, you would see the spoon go tick, 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 because it's pulsing so fast. Now, what makes this thing so powerful and so healthy is that you get this little control thing here, which allows you to adjust the hertz on it. This particular one comes already programmed to the pulse of the earth, which has turned to which at least the studies that I've read is the most healthy. And I started using that in 2013. I think I started using it in 2013, and I had all kinds of issues. I had all kinds of pain issues. I had back spasms, and I had what do you call that? Tendonitis. But that was all stress related. But nevertheless, I had these physical issues, and those started clearing up, and I slept better. It was really good. So when you first get it, you're going to feel it. You're going to have weird dreams, and it's, I still haven't experimented with the different settings, which somebody could, to have different dream states. I've meditated with it before. It's really powerful, but now my body's used to it. I think that's another reason. I can't prove it, but I think that's another reason I'm as healthy as I am. I don't promote that as much because it doesn't really affect my business all that much. But since people are asking me, how can I, they're wanting me to give them a magic pill against the coronavirus, but the magic pill against the coronavirus is the same magic pill against, disease in general. So I'll get to some other stuff about that to try and lessen the insanity surrounding the coronavirus. But those two links right there, I recommend that you go check those out. Okay? So with that, I'll take some questions. And I was going to get to number 3. The third spiritual step to be able to keep yourself healthy and to fend off disease and old age and death. The third is you have to know how to program the matrix. The matrix is just another word for three-dimensional reality. My ancestors called it the web of weird. And in the Norse mythology, there are 3 giantesses. Giantesses are even greater than the gods. So it's not even just like there's 3 goddesses. There's 3 giantesses. Like the gods can't even touch them. They're so powerful. And the giantesses weave past, present, and future to create destiny, or weird. But weird is also the weaving of the physical space-time dimension that we live in, the 3-dimensional world, the matrix, Maya. It's all the same thing. Matrix means the mothers. And what is it? 3 giantesses are like the mothers, and they're weaving reality. Maya means illusion, but it's also a goddess, the goddess that creates this illusion of this reality. You have to understand the rules of how the matrix works. If you adopt what I told you in the beginning, if you're coming on late, go back and watch this from the beginning, because I tell you the assumption you have to have in order to know how to get the matrix to follow your directions. And one of the things is you have to know what it is that makes the matrix respond to you in a negative way, because it will. If you take certain actions with certain intentions, if you have certain beliefs and mindsets that are dictating how you experience life, there are certain of those that will guarantee the matrix will respond negatively to you. Your experience will be that you will be in poverty, misery, unhealth, drama. You will feel victimized, and take it all the way down the scale. That is the matrix responding negatively to you. It is just following its program. It's not personal. You are stimulating it to treat you that way. It also works in the opposite way. This isn't about being good or about being righteous, about pleasing God. It has nothing to do with that. Your motives, your spirituality, your morals have nothing to do with what happens in either of them. But there is a way to believe. There are certain beliefs and assumptions and actions that you take which force the matrix to respond to you positively. And when that happens, you get money, you get health, you get prosperity, you get love, you get happiness. People take it far too seriously, life. They think that it's because of them that they're being targeted. It's just a reaction. The universe is just simply reacting to the beliefs and the actions. Notice I'm not saying thoughts and feelings. Those have no effect, very little effect. It's your beliefs and your actions that tell the matrix how to respond. So those are the three things. The first one is, and again, if you master number 1, number 2, and number 3 are very easy. Number 1 is you have to know what your joy is that your soul brought here for you to experience. The second one is you have to empower your physical energy body, and you can do that through spiritual disciplines like meditation, like qigong, like mantra, like yoga, tai chi. These are things that will empower your aura even further. Your aura is your first and last defense on physical pathogens as well as spiritual pathogens. So if you're worried about people stealing your energy, if you have a strong energy body, they can't touch you. And then the third one is you have to know what the rules of the matrix are. If you have those 3 steps, you are guaranteed health and long life. Now, I don't know how long your soul has chosen to be here. So your soul has chosen to be here X amount of time. If you want to guarantee that you will be here for the entire period that your soul has chosen to be here, you follow those 3 steps and you're guaranteed bulletproof. I can't guarantee when you've decided to leave. Maybe you decided to leave when you were 10. Maybe you decided to leave when you're 120. I don't know. But if you follow those 3 spiritual steps, you're guaranteed that. The people have asked me to put that together, and I was going to put together a health package. I was going to take the different things that, of my teachings and put them together in a package and give them to you and say, here's, but I already did it. It's called the Immortality package, immortality.thunderwizard.com. You're saving $400 if you decide to go now. It's something I did, like a month ago to help me make some money to pay my taxes. It's already there. The only other thing I would add to that is this pulsed electromagnetic field generator, again, which I showed you, which is this thing and this thing. And I only teach things that I personally have experienced. I use this every single night. This is the second one since 2013. I used the other one so much that I burnt it out. And so I just bought another one. And I used it. This one has 2. I put one under my head and I put one under my bed. And so I get one that's doing my brain and I get one that's doing my, all the organs in my body as I sleep. And it's great. If ever I get like a sore, like if I get from working out or something and my neck is sore, or if I, get a pulled muscle, I'll just take it like this. And there's a little thing you can put on, and then I put it directly on whatever the hell's bothering me. And, sometimes I got to be careful because if I'm during the day and I turn it on, I'll fall asleep because it just makes me so relaxed. Those are the 2 things. The immortality.thunderwizard.com and the PEMF.thunderwizard.com. If you put those 2 things together, I can't think of anything more beneficial than that. Other than that, common sense things. We'll talk about common sense things. In the beginning, I talked about, just basic supplements that I take, just to keep myself healthy. All right, so with that, I'll go ahead and take some questions. Bear in mind, again, what I want is just the questions. I don't want your comments. I don't want your feedback. The best thing to do is if I answer your question and I say things you don't like, don't double down because that's going to make me want to come after you like a shark and point out all of your unconscious garbage. I might be wrong. Don't take it personally. Just ask the question. Just stick with the questions is the safest thing for you to do. It might make for some interesting entertainment if you choose not to do that, but that's my suggestion for you. Black Earth Productions is on here. Black Earth Productions is a good friend of mine. You can go to his YouTube channel, Black Earth Productions. He also has Black Earth Productions with a Z.com. He has his own website. Evan Price, question. I have mixed my joy with toxic escapism. It doesn't work like that. Your understanding is faulty. So I can tell you right off the bat that that's not what's happening. Toxic escapism is going to not be part of your joy. There's nothing, there is no toxic escapism for me if I go out surfing for 3 hours. I don't usually stay out that long anymore because I don't want to deal with being that sore and that tired afterwards, but there's nothing wrong with that. So for you to think that your joy is mixed with toxic escapism means that you don't know what your joy is yet. Pot, not facing reality. So were you watching from the beginning? I told you that if you're taking any kind of chemicals that get you out of your normal awareness, that is among the things that will create illness. Pot is not a joy. You're right, it's toxic escapism, specifically the THC. So what you need to do is go onto my channel. Let me make this speech again. I wish I knew, I figured it out. There's a way if you go onto your phone, but if you're on like a laptop, you go to my YouTube page. So the way you do that is you type in Thunder Wizard on the YouTube search channel. My thunderwizard.com page will come up. You'll see my picture of my page. You go to my page, go to where the menu is, and then there will either be a little arrow that you click and underneath it it'll say search channel, or there will be a magnifying glass. You click on that, a new search bar will come up. You're going to type in the word marijuana. And then you're going to watch that video, because pot is not your joy. It is escape. You're escaping your pain. So you're operating, remember I said there are two ways that the universe provides for you. One is it will punish you, quote, and one is it will reward you. You are on the punishment path, because if you're doing pot because you think it's your joy, it's because you're running away from your pain, which is coming from your fear. And so that's going to stimulate the universe to give you negative results. Now, I'm tempted to indulge when I experience my joy. I don't know what that means. And it's harder to abstain and enjoy it as much as before. Advice? Stop smoking weed. There you go. I.e. God. If you're here to ask a question, ask a question. Otherwise, I have to bypass you. Marcus Timon is saying the PEMF machine is great. Thank you. Prior Deem 12, question. Do you know that device would affect a bracelet? Do you know if that device would affect a bracelet? No. I don't even waste my time with those things. I really can't say. I mean, charging a bracelet is one thing, but actually having the pulsed electromagnetic field coming through you is a totally different thing. Bracelets are nothing wrong with them, but little like necklaces with the charge thing, there's nothing wrong with them, but in my experience the charge is so weak it's negligible. You're getting more of a charge just from lying down on the earth. This is why people go camping, by the way. People go camping so that they can lie on the ground. And the ground has the earth frequency. I forget what it is. There's a hertz level of the earth. But this thing will just flood you with that in a very powerful way. In fact, it's so powerful that if you turn it around and you have the wrong side touching you, it will actually do the opposite. It'll start causing you pain and it will make you sick. That's how powerful this thing is. So you always have to have the north. See, it has the N on here 4 times to make sure you know this is north. This is the side you want facing your body, because the other side is going to cause damage. That's how powerful this thing is. A bracelet isn't anywhere near that powerful. It's not going to hurt your bracelet. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it will charge it, but I really don't think the bracelet is going to really do a hell of a lot. Alekia Patra. So Alekia, I haven't even read your question yet. So yesterday and in times past, you have not been asking questions according to what I teach. And so what I'm going to do from now on, the kindest thing I can do for you is just not acknowledge your question. If your question is going to be in the same lines of what you've been asking, which has nothing to do with what I teach, it tells me that you don't understand what I teach, that you haven't been watching the videos, reading the books, or doing the exercises, or at the very least, taking what I say. If your questions are going to be along those lines, I'm just not even going to read them. So having said that, I haven't looked at your question. I'm going to look at it here. Okay, so your question isn't that bad, so I'll go ahead and read it. Have our souls, but it also tells me you're still not listening to me, because I've already given you the answer to this. Have our souls already written all our destiny, or are our souls just decided our bodies and circumstances and destiny is up to us? Yes to both questions. Of course, your soul knows exactly what it wants to accomplish. That's called destiny. In my ethnic tradition, it was called Orlog, which means origin law. In the Vedic, it's called Dharma. So your Dharma is your path, your highest path. Your soul comes here and it has a highest path. It has a perfect path that if we are able to listen to our souls, we will avoid tons of karma and we will have our soul experiencing everything it wants. I haven't done that perfectly, so I can't tell you from experience what that is, but I do know that it can be done because there have been times when I have had choices and I have made choices that have harmed me and I have made choices that have helped me. This is, by the way, the myth of Jesus. One of the myths of the Jesus character, who is a fictional character, by the way. One of the myths of the Jesus character is that he always followed his highest spiritual destiny because he was perfect. Same with, like Rama and Krishna, same kind of thing. Although it's not quite the same because, you see Rama making mistakes, supposedly. So that's the first answer to your question, is that yes. And yes, it is completely up to you. You have free choice. You can choose to respond from fear. And this is why I keep saying that what's most important is adopting the correct assumption about your nature, because if you adopt an incorrect assumption, you'll create a belief. That belief will then force you to take actions that are detrimental to your happiness. So the short answer is yes. There was something I wanted to say, but it flew out of my head. Life force rejuvenation question. When do we know when we connect with our inner self? Well, I've already told you that. If you're new to the channel, welcome to the channel. You've tapped into it when you feel the joy. So if you don't know, get that package, the immortality.thunderwizard.com package. Get that package, because in the Find Your Perfect Career, by the way, they're all slashed. The prices of all that stuff is slashed. It's going to go up by another $400 very soon. So take it while it's still here. But in the Find Your Perfect Career course, I forgot what I was going to say again. Anyway, I take you through the questions that you ask yourself in order to find your joy. Oh, what I was going to say is this. I call it perfect career, not because that's the only thing I focus on, but that's because that's what most people talk about. And when most people are asking about what is my perfect career, what they really want to know is what their perfect life is. But because of the times that we live in, our career is what gives us the money, and so everybody's focused on the money. So here's how the universe works. The universe pays you money to follow your soul's joy. Another way to say it is the universe pays you money when you follow your highest truth. The universe pays you money when you operate from your authentic self. So the good news is all you have to do is find out who your authentic self is. When you do that, you will find ways to make money from that. Again, Arnold Schwarzenegger is a perfect example. He wanted to be Mr. Olympia, and he wanted to be a movie star. And when he talks about when he was training, and everybody else was in the gym training really hard, and they were like, it hurts so much, and They're complaining about how hard they're training, and for him it was like, I wanted that. Give me that extra pain, because the more reps I do, if I do one more rep than the other guy, I'm that much closer to my dream, which is to become Mr. Olympia. And that can only happen when you know that this is your joy. When you know that this is your joy, then what would normally be taxing on somebody else is going to be something that you want to do. The most difficult thing about following your joy is not the challenge of accomplishing it. The most difficult thing is fighting against your need to be loved and accepted by other people. So I'm going to go back to Evan Price's question. He says his joy is pot. It's not. It's not his joy. He smokes pot to deal with how badly he wants the world to accept him. He wants love. And pot is how he deals with his frustration and conflict about, do I please other people or do I please myself? Now, Evan, you may not have any conscious awareness that that's what you're doing, but I'm telling you, if you look at it, you'll find out that's what's going on. What drugs do is they mimic love. That's why people do drugs. If you're mimicking love, it means that you don't have any within you, which means that you feel unloved. Now, it is possible to have no physical love in your life and feel loved. That happens when you are following your joy. When you're following your joy, you're connected to your soul. Your soul is connected to the universe, and you feel loved by the universe. When you don't feel loved by the universe and you don't feel loved by people, we try and find ways to get that. I know, because I've done it and I do it. I'm still learning as I go. So I'm no different than you in that regard. That's how I know. It takes one to know one. Not that I'm smoking pot anymore, but you get what I'm saying. Evans Price's question was misunderstood. What did I misunderstand? You said pot. You said that you smoked pot and that it was your joy. Or are you saying that you smoked pot in order to avoid your joy? All I know is what I read. Let me read it again. People say I misunderstand them. Question: I have mixed my joy with toxic escapism, pot, not facing reality. Now I'm tempted to indulge when I experience my joy, and it's harder to abstain and enjoy it as much as before. See, you're right, it's not clear. I'm tempted to indulge in pot when I experience my joy, and it's harder to abstain and enjoy it as much as before. It's harder to abstain and enjoy. Enjoy what? This is why you have to be specific. You have to be clear about what you're saying. So if what you're saying is that when you go after your joy, you're tempted to smoke pot, yeah, then same deal. Going after your joy, as I said, is going to bring up all the resistance. And you're going to want to act on that resistance. And the resistance, the actions that you take on the resistance is always going to be about being accepted and loved. So you are damaging yourself, you're diminishing yourself when you smoke pot because you want to be loved and accepted. And let me share you an experience in my life. It's not the same thing, but my father, who's dead now, was an alcoholic. He's been dead for 20 years or so, 20 plus years. He was an alcoholic. He was a brilliant physicist, brilliant. They're still trying to figure out his mathematical equations. He was instrumental in the space race, and in America winning the space race. And he designed satellites and designed all kinds of things and electronics and doohickeys and things for spacecrafts and other things like, things like, what makes your car window go up and down and, what you have to do to make sure that he did all that kind of stuff. He was brilliant. Absolutely a genius. He was also an alcoholic. Geniuses are often alcoholics. And he was so intimidated by anything that I did. If I was a 10-year-old kid and I started to accomplish things, that would make him uncomfortable. When I started getting recognition as an actor, I've shared the story, he basically just said that I won't even get into it, but it was just so humiliating what he did, what he said. And it was because he was projecting his own self-hatred onto me. Even though he was extremely successful and brilliant, he still felt like a loser internally. And so he was projecting that onto his son. That's what parents do. They project their internal reality onto their kids. That's why one of the reasons I've never had kids. I don't want to take that risk. So what I did was, on an unconscious level, is I sabotaged my career. I told you guys that there was a time when I could have made it as a stand-up comic. And one of the characters I did was Arnold when he was really popular, and I did a whole character on him. And I could have won a free trip to Vegas and become a headliner, and I sabotaged it. I sabotaged all kinds of things unconsciously, because what I wanted was the love and approval of my father on an unconscious level. And the message that he gave me was, if you are, you have to work hard and you have to try, but you have to be, just mediocre. And if you're mediocre, then I'll love you. That was the message. He didn't say that. That was the message. You have a similar message, Evan Price, because if you're going after your joy and you're then tempted to indulge, as you say, in toxic escapism, it means that somebody in your life somewhere gave you the message that you can't succeed, because if you do, you'll make me look bad or you'll make me feel unloved, and so therefore you can't. And so this is your way of sabotaging your success. I don't know all the specifics, but I already know that much about you. That's true with anybody. Toxic escapism is wanting to be loved. That's why the opiate drug addiction thing is an epidemic, because people don't have love. If you don't have love, if you didn't get it from your parents, and what true parental love is, they teach you how to love yourself. That's what a true parent does. So that when you face life, you have the self-love to do what you want. Now, I don't know anything about Arnold's parents, but maybe they weren't, maybe they were, but I am now wondering if his parents were supportive, because he obviously figured out a way how to love himself and give himself everything he wanted against all odds. He didn't let anything or anybody stop him. That means he loved himself. Whatever other judgments you may have about him personally or politically, that part is definitely true. So if you have that, you don't need the love of other people. It's nice, but you don't need it. A lot of people say, I don't need anybody else's love, but what they're really doing is that they're afraid of being hurt, so they just isolate themselves from people. And they say, I don't need a man, MGTOW especially. MGTOW boys, you are so guilty of this. I don't need a woman. You want a woman so bad. You want your mommy so bad. Sorry. Arnold is going to confess that he is MGTOW. He's going to explain it at some point, but not today. All right. Let's see if there are any more questions. So life force rejuvenation, that's courses for you. So you can answer that question. When do we know when we connect with our inner self? All right. So the best way not to have me misunderstand your question is to write specifically. Make sure you don't replace like nouns and things with it, because I don't know what it is. If you've got this huge paragraph, I don't know what it is. Yeah, Jamie Turner, whatever you said, YouTube didn't like it, so it hit it. So, being cute, it's a waste of time on this thing. Jake Callahan question, if Earth is this super amazing place. So here's the other thing people do. A question is an honest question. A question is not a passive-aggressive thing. It's not, I have an opinion and I'm going to pretend it's a question. But also what people do when they want me to co-sign their thing is they start by introducing an assumption. So Jake Callahan is going to introduce his assumption. And if I buy into his assumption, then he's going to set me up to make it challenging to answer his question. So let's follow through. I might be wrong, but it's already sounding that way. Question, if this Earth is super amazing place and the envy of the universe, then why would using a sacred teacher plant be toxic escapism? How do those two things go together? You're introducing the assumption that, if we're talking about THC because that's what was introduced before, and somebody else in his experience had said that it was toxic escapism. You are coming with a different assumption, so that's an opinion. In your opinion, it's a sacred teacher plant. So, we could say the same thing about opiates. Somebody could say that heroin's a plant, comes from poppies. They could say in their experience, and I'm not saying it is, they could say that that plant is a teacher plant and that it's not toxic escapism. Now, the experience of a lot of other people is going to come to a different conclusion. So I disagree with your assumption that you're wanting to introduce here. That is an assumption that it is a sacred teacher plant. In my experience, it's not. And if you want to know, if you're interested in knowing why I think that, you don't have to agree with me. I could care less if you do or not. If you choose to want to know why, then go and look at my video on marijuana. And I don't talk about my opinion. I talk about from a shamanic perspective, from a traditional Chinese medicine perspective, and from a Taoist perspective on energy. It explains exactly what THC does to the energy body and to the mind and to the chemicals and to the organs and all that, and why it is physically toxic. It was a medicine, but bear in mind that, when we're talking about traditional Chinese medicine, the cannabis that they used was like the weeds that are growing out of the, they didn't do, what they've done now is they have hybridized it to such a point that the level of THC is astronomical. It used to be something like 3%. Now they got it up to 20%. So when they used it to counterbalance things, to get the chi moving, we're talking minimal amounts of THC. So even if somebody wants to use that. So I completely disagree with the first part of that. You're not asking a question. You don't like what I said. And instead of saying, I don't agree with you and here's why, you're pretending to ask a question. Because you've got this, your question is rhetorical. Why would it exist? If it's as amazing as it is, then why would it exist and be bad? You're not really wanting to know the truth. You obviously like it, and you want me to co-sign that, and you want to make me your enemy, and you want to put me into a place with you want to first get me into your assumption and then put me into a place with a rhetorical question where I can't go anywhere with it, and then you can walk away and feel justified. So why would anything exist? There's all kinds of things out there that exist that aren't healthy for us. So every single plant out there that can be used as a medicine, that's also poisonous, why does it exist? Why do snakes exist? They have, poison. We use the poison of snakes to create medicine. So that's a dumb question. You're not really asking me because you want to know. If you really want to know, go watch that video. Music is. All right, so now I know. So Evan Price, see, that's what I mean. Your first question, I apologize. I publicly apologize, Evan Price. I misunderstood your question, but it's also, if you look back on it, it's confusing. Because when you were it and that, we don't know what you're talking about. And it's hard to do because there's only so many characters, I understand. But so now, music is your joy, and when you go after your musical joy, you're sometimes tempted to indulge in THC. And you know that it's escapism. It's just, short answer is it's unconscious resistance to your following your highest joy. That's it. That's just the way you do it. Somebody else might do something else. I've got my things that I do that, that are toxic escapism. I have my own version. I'm no different than anybody else. Gremner Thomas, question. I ask your opinion on difference between the left and right hemispheres of the brain and their link to emotion. Again, I would really like it if you used whole sentences and verbs and all that. You want to know my opinion on the difference between the left and right hemispheres of the brain and their link to emotion. I'm more interested in why you're asking the question, because I could go on and on and on and on and on, but there's a reason that you're asking the question, and it has to do with emotion. So there's something going on with you and emotion. Are you having a hard time tapping into your emotion? Do emotions frighten you? Why are you asking the question? If you can tell me why you want to know the question, and give me the understanding of what it is we can, because if you're asking a question, there's something that you need fixing. You want to fix something in you. I want to help you fix that. Giving me this intellectual question doesn't help me fix whatever the problem is within you. So go more deep. Tell me why you want to know about emotion. Yeah, there you go. So thank you. So if it comes down to that, Evan, just write two, one on top of the other, continued, so that I'm clear. Because that's sad. That's sad that I ended up attacking you like that, because I didn't understand your question. That's one of the risks people take when they ask me questions on here. Jake Callahan is not a question, but you're trying to... yeah, I said that in the last stream that souls coming to this planet were... Yeah, that's right. Your question has nothing to do with that. What I said was that being a human being is the most powerful thing that any spiritual being can do, and that when a soul becomes human, the gods, the elves, the dwarves, the demons, the animals, everything looks on that soul and says, oh my God, I wish I was that soul. Because being a human, they see that is the most powerful place to be. You can accomplish so much. What does that have to do with you asking me why THC is bad for you? Why is anything else bad for you? The problem is you like it. You just don't you like to buy into the idea that it's a sacred teacher plant, and you don't like somebody telling you that it's not. And then you're going to give me this, this rhetorical question of, well, if this is such an amazing place and we have this sacred teacher plant, why is it toxic? Well, because your assumption is that it's a sacred teacher plant. And that just by taking it, you somehow become more evolved. And you don't. You can disagree with me on it, but that's why. Your question is flawed, and it's coming from your agenda. You're not being honest. You're trying to manipulate me. That's okay, I understand. You can if you want to continue to do that, go right ahead. If you ask me if it's a good thing to do, I'm going to tell you the truth as I know it. I won't judge you for it. I probably won't want to hang out with you when you're stoned, but in fact, here's the thing. If you do, go hang out with people when they're baked. And you stay sober. Just drink water and watch them. They're going to start either acting like idiots and they're laughing their brains out over nothing, and that's going to be comical to watch. But then if they start getting into deep conversations, they're going to think they're talking about something really heavy, and you're going to listen to it and it's going to sound totally ridiculous. Right? Like, whoa, man. My hand can touch everything but itself, man. Hey, I'm looking at my thumbnail here and I'm wondering, if each cell is like a universe unto itself, man. Is there an infinite universe in one of the cells of my thumb? And oh man, what if in that universe there's a planet and there's a guy on there who's totally baked looking at his own thumbnail, and in his thumbnail, oh my God, it goes on forever. Wow, man, that's so deep. No, it's not. It's ridiculous. You just think it's deep. Try it. See if I'm wrong. Yeah. All right, so Jake, man, why did you ask the question? You say you don't even smoke it anymore. You already had this, there's something about it. All I know is what you ask. If you guys are careful about what you say, then I can't misinterpret you. But, now you're saying you don't even like it anymore. So you don't seem very clear on what's going on. Alekia Patria. Question: were my questions or any questions about political stuff disrespectful to you? You're not asking me a question. I've already told you that I don't deal with that garbage. Why are you asking me? Now you're saying I wasn't being disrespectful to you. No, you're being narcissistic in your own victim mentality garbage. And I don't want to buy into that. So don't try and put it on me. Okay? Just don't waste my time with that. Ask about stuff I teach. It's that simple. Ask about stuff I teach, and then I won't go off on you. That's it. I don't give a crap if you didn't disrespect my thoughts. You were being narcissistic and selfish. It's disrespectful. To answer your question, yes. It is disrespectful to me when you want to keep asking me questions about stuff I don't teach, and I keep telling you I don't want to talk about that. That's disrespectful. So the answer is yes, it was disrespectful. I don't care whether you felt it was or not. It was. Now you know. Now you've been educated. When you're wrapped in your own narcissism and you don't listen to what people are saying, and people say, I don't want to talk about that, and you keep wanting to talk about it, that's disrespectful. All right, so now Jake Callahan, who just got through saying that he doesn't smoke cannabis anymore, is then going on for a whole paragraph telling us why cannabis is an amazing inspiration to music. So pick one, man. If it doesn't cause you anxiety, where did you get the idea that THC doesn't cause anxiety? Let me tell you something about THC and anxiety. Now, I know Jake Callahan. So look, again, the safest thing to do is to not double down. If I start coming at you, don't double down, because if you double down, you just give me more fodder to tear you apart. But I'm going to use it to educate other people. In terms of anxiety, you have heard of paranoia from THC. In fact, if you go in the US to a pot bar or whatever, and you ask about different kinds, they're going to say, well, this one is this, and some people it creates anxiety. The reason why it does that, and if you, instead of wanting to argue with me, would have gone and watched the video I told you to watch, which would explain all of that, if you had gone and watched that, you would find out that one of the things that THC does is it attacks the liver. And this is where the paranoia comes from. So when people, on THC are paranoid, it's because their liver is feeling attacked. Now the liver is the largest organ that has the strongest effect on the external energy body. So when the liver's energy body is under attack, your experience will be paranoia, just non-specific paranoia. It means your liver is saying, hey, I'm under attack. Now, people who don't have a lot of THC, who haven't built up a lot of resistance, they're more likely to have paranoia. People who do THC on a regular basis and they've built up a physical tolerance to it, they're going to have less paranoia. But the other thing that I've noticed is this, and I'm talking from personal experience here. The other thing that I've noticed is that people, if they take THC and it calms them down, what it means is that their unconscious state is that they are under huge tension. That on an unconscious level, or even on a conscious level, they experience huge tension and fear with life in general. There's a lot of unconscious stuff going on. And so the effects that THC has on consciousness, so your ability to interact with your immediate reality, taking you out of reality, that experience is, even though there is paranoia attached, the paranoia attached to that is less than the paranoia that you have to begin with. So it's really a comparison. One feels better than the other, and the experience is, oh my God, I'm free of stress. But all that's happened is that you've cut yourself off from your unconscious stress. That's it. So that's an illusion that it doesn't cause anxiety. In fact, it does. It causes the liver to try and protect itself. which is what the paranoia is. How could you be escaping from anything by smoking weed to highlight your music? You already know the answer to that question. You're using that. I'll even go any further. Yeah, I mean, it might give you a sense of relief, which will allow you to be more creative. But it just means that in the non-THC state, you have so much conflict within you that you can't tap into your creativity. You need something external to distract you from your unconscious pain. And it's the illusion of that that makes you think you're being inspired, but that's not what's happening. And the truth is that whatever inspiration comes from THC is going to be superficial compared to the inspiration that you could have if you weren't in conflict to begin with. So you know the answer to that. Anything that makes you feel good is a distraction. How are you escaping? Because it makes you feel better. You're not so stupid, Jake, that you don't understand that. I know you do. You just want to co-sign doing it. And I'm not going to do that for you. All right. So, anyway, I'm not going to keep going. Jake Callahan's pissed off. So, or he says he's not being confrontational. Anyway, we won't talk about that anymore. All right, so here's what we're going to do now. Since there are no more questions, if you don't have questions, the way it works is I got to either entertain you or give you options to empower yourself. So I am going to explain to you what the immortality.thunderwizard.com is. Let's see, is that it? Yeah. And then we'll come back, and if there are any more questions, I will be happy to answer them. Okay, so what I want to talk to you about right now is a very special package that I've put together, which I think is long overdue. I've been getting a lot of questions about reincarnation, and I've been getting a lot of questions about immortality and health and youth, and what are some of the ways that you can, stay young, stay healthy, stay strong. So, if you know, there's already a service that you can get to by going to immortal.thunderwizard.com, and that is the Becoming an Immortal Phase 1 teaching series, which I teach you a very ancient, esoteric Taoist meditation from Taoist master wizards who are known for living very long lives. And if you've trained in any of these, you know that there are legends of these Taoist masters who have actually become immortals. And what an immortal is that through their spiritual practice, through their energy work, they raise the vibration of their cells up to a certain level that they phase out of three-dimensional existence and they live in multiple dimensions. They're still here, they're still around, but you can't see them. But it's because they have chosen to do this kind of work to become, in the Taoist understanding, to become a god, to become an immortal. So as I said, there's two ways to achieve freedom from reincarnation. One is to achieve all of your desires over multiple lifetimes, and then you never have to come back and you move on to the next phase. The other is to raise the vibrational level of the energy in your organs and in your cells so that you phase out of existence and become what is known as an immortal. And that way you hold on to your awareness and you don't have to forget who you are and come back and relearn everything. So that was the Taoist mindset. The Taoist mindset is, let's do this right once so that we don't have to keep coming back and remembering who we are. And they did that through energy work. Now, the benefits of that, the benefits of doing the immortality meditation is that your cells start to vibrate on a higher level. The energy in the organs and the cells start to vibrate on a higher level, and you end up reversing your aging. So in this package, let me tell you what is in this package. I guess before that, let me just tell you, I swear to you, I'm telling you the truth. Last night, again, I was with a very beautiful young woman who was, I believe she was 22. And I was spending some time with her. And she wanted to know my age, and she said, I want to guess your age. Because I had told her some of the things that I had done, and she said, wow, you've done a lot of stuff. She says, I want to guess your age. And I said, please, I'd love to hear that. So she looked at me and she scrutinized my face and touched my body and my arms. And then she said, I think you're 45. And I said, thank you. That's very kind of you. I'm actually 56. She said, really? Wow. I was actually, trying to go older than what I thought just to be safe. But she says, you could pass for 40 if you wanted, especially if you dyed your gray hairs. People wouldn't know how old you were. And I said, thank you. That makes me feel very good. I do feel good. I do feel healthy. So I'm not telling you that to brag. I'm telling you that that is the result of the practices that I've done throughout my life. Now, I've been doing it since I was in my late 20s. But I've learned that there are multiple factors involved. You have to have the right understanding of how the matrix works so that you can get the matrix to give you what you want. You have to understand how the matrix works. You also understand emotionally and psychologically how to interact with life. A lot of people are under stress. They take themselves too seriously. They take other people too seriously. And that has to do partly with you don't know how the matrix functions, and so you feel like you're a victim and all those kinds of things. But the other aspect is not knowing how to do the energy work and the meditations that keep your body young. You have to have all of them. So let me tell you what is in this package. So what we have in this package is you're going to have access to a package that already exists, which is called the 4 Tools to Exit the Matrix. In this package, the first teaching series is called Find Your Perfect Career. Now, I call it Find Your Perfect Career because most people are interested in money and most people want to know what they can do to make all the money that they want. So I named it that. But the reality is that I have discovered is that when you are operating in unison with your internal spiritual purpose, you know how to manipulate the matrix to give you everything that you want. And when that happens, you end up in this really wonderful dynamic where the universe pays you money to be your authentic self. I don't work. I don't have a job. Right now I'm in Australia. I'm living in a 3-bedroom house that I'm renting, and I'm right across the beach from beautiful tropical beaches and beautiful women walking up and down in bikinis, and I surf all day. And then I come and I do some videos and I talk to my friends on the phone and I help them. I get paid to do that. It's something I would do anyway. It's my perfect life. It's my fantasy life. I've come to find out that that's how the universe works. But you first have to know what your fantasy life is. That you will find at Find Your Perfect Career. That in and of itself will get rid of tons of stress, which creates toxins, which age you and gives you disease. Once you get rid of that, it's a lot easier to be healthy and happy. Okay? The next thing in the 4 Tools to Exit the Matrix is the Celestial Qigong. This is my oldest teaching series. I've been selling it for over 10 years. And it is by far the most powerful energy practice I've ever encountered. It connects you to the Ascended Masters, and it works to reverse aging. It works to bring you higher consciousness. It gives you tremendous spiritual connections, shamanic experiences. People tell me that they've done it and they've traveled outside their body and the blue light beings came to them. And I don't promise that. I just gave people this really great Qigong practice that I've learned and deepened my knowledge with. They've had that experience. So you get the Celestial Qigong as well. Then you get the 5 rules to master the matrix. That's absolutely crucial. You must understand who you are and your relationship to the matrix. Most people don't. Most people think that they're trapped in the matrix. That's only if you don't understand who you are and how the matrix responds to you. Once you understand the rules of how the matrix works, it obeys you because you know exactly what levers to pull to make it do what you want. Okay, and then I give you a link to go to the thunderwizard.com subscription page if you want to be a part of that and learn the Manifestation Mastery course and the Mastery of Shamanism. So that, all of that, and even a hell of a lot more than that is in the 4 Tools to Exit the Matrix package. On top of that, I have also added the Becoming an Immortal Phase 1 teaching series where I teach you this ancient meditation from Taoist masters. I teach you a special mudra. I teach you, anyway, I won't give it all here now because there's a lot of teaching in it. And I explain to you the science and understanding from the Taoist wizard mastery understanding of how to escape reincarnation by becoming an immortal. It's very simple, and this is phase 1. There's 3 phases to it, and when enough people get through phase 1, I'll teach phase 2 and phase 3. Right now, because I am paying off my taxes, I have slashed my prices on everything. So normally, if you were to get the normal price after the savings, these 2 packages would cost you $639. That's after all the savings. I've slashed another $400 off of that, and now it's $239 for all the things that I just mentioned. So go ahead and go to immortality.thunderwizard.com, and you can purchase that slashed price package right here and right now. And you know, maybe this is your window. I'm telling you, the benefits of all this are you get to learn how to live in this world and get paid just to be yourself. You learn how to reduce all of the stress, all of the craziness of your false beliefs about who you are and what the universe is, and all the stress that goes along with that. Once you relieve all the stress of that, you already put yourself in a position to be healthier and happier. Then when you combine the energy work of both the Celestial Qigong and the Immortal Phase 1 package, and you do those practices, then you start to reverse the aging process within the cells of the body, within the organs of the body. And then like me, when you're, 60 is right around the corner for me, women, if you're a guy, women half your age will comment about how young you look. And at the same time, they'll say, but you're so mature and so wise. It's the best of both worlds. I'm telling you, man, this is the best of both worlds for me now. And I'm only telling you this because people are bringing it to my attention. And since people are asking me about reincarnation and how to avoid the pain of reincarnation, you have to understand that there's more to it than that. I'm going to talk about that in some other videos, but for this right now, I just want to introduce you to this new package, the Immortality package, immortality.thunderwizard.com. Save $400 off the already slashed prices, and for $239 you get, what would probably be over $1,000 worth of teachings in one little package. Okay, so this is for a limited time only. Take advantage of it now, because once I've paid my taxes off, I'm going to go everything back to their normal prices. All right? Thanks, my friends. I will see you very soon. Okay, we're back. All right, so that should help you understand what you're getting from this. Again, I was going to put together a health package, and I realized that it was already there. So those 3 things we told you about: find out what your soul purpose is, increase the energy level of your energy body, and learn how to manipulate the matrix to give you what you want in life. Those 3 things, besides giving you all the other stuff, it is also the same thing that you can do, the things that are within your power to guarantee your health and your long life from the coronavirus or anything else. That's it. Immortality and PEMF. That's the only other thing I didn't put in there because it's not my product. All right, so we'll see if there are any questions. Marcus Toynman said, question, how do you get in touch with your emotions? I was once very in touch with them and then had a falling out from a major traumatic experience that altered my life greatly, and I have not been in touch with them since. So Marcus, you already know the answer to that question. you need to work through the trauma. If before the trauma you had access to your emotions, after the trauma you don't, you obviously have unresolved issues about the trauma. You need to go see a therapist. That's what they're there for. That's what psychologists are there for. They're trained. They go to, they get PhDs in learning how to deal with emotional and psychological trauma. Look, I've said it before, nobody can heal themselves. Nobody can teach themselves. I have a teacher. I have mentors. I have a therapist. I have people that I pay to show me the things that I can't see within myself. You need help. Is that hard to figure out? Go get help. Gremner Thomas question. This is regarding to his earlier question, which was, let me see if I can find it here. Gremner Thomas, where'd you go? So I wanted more information on your question. I can't find it now. He wanted to know the connection between the left and the right hemisphere of the brain and what the connection is to emotion. And he says, because I'm more of an intellectual person, I'd like to hear, he wants to hear my understanding about the left and right brain and their link to emotion, since right brain is more emotional. So really, you still haven't told me anything why you want to know that. Why do you want to know about emotion? So you've said here you're an intellectual person. So by that, it means that you're distanced from your emotions. That means that there's an emotion behind this question that you're not even accessing. There's a need to know this. The intellect is here to protect us. The intellect does not bring satisfaction. The intellect figures things out. It figures out, up, down, right, left, right, wrong, because it's trying to help you to survive. So it means if you're an intellectual person, it means that some people are more intellectual and some people are more emotional. So that is true. But generally speaking, when somebody is more in their intellect than their emotions, it means that they're in survival mode. This is why if you're on the battlefield, you don't have time to have emotions, and that the guy next to you who's having an emotional breakdown and is crying is the guy that's going to get you killed. And so he becomes a threat to the whole. So when you're on the battlefield, it's all intellect, because you have to figure out where the enemy is, what they're doing, and what you need to do to stay safe. It's all about survival. So if you're stuck in that, like Marcus is stuck in that because he went through as he puts it, a major traumatic experience that he obviously hasn't gotten through, and he can't get back into his emotional state because he still hasn't gotten over the shock of it, and on an unconscious level, he's still fighting for his survival. So the right side of the brain is, quote, more emotional. The right side of the brain is about experience and about merging. Now, this is why art comes from here. There's people who are right-brained are more artistic, because artistic is an emotional experience, whereas the intellect is about self-preservation. This is why men are more intellectual than women. Generally speaking, don't get your panties in a bunch. It's because men are the warriors. Testosterone makes men more intellectual and less emotional, because testosterone is used for fighting wars and hunting, going out and finding the food. You have to be able to survive because, we're going up against lions and tigers and bears and, things like that. And we have to keep our wits about us. And, that's an old thing, because as you go further back in time, especially in the ice ages, there were cave lions and cave bears, and there were wolves, and, there were deer and elk that had antlers that were 10 feet wide, and they were like 6 feet at the shoulder, and life, you had to, the warriors, when you went out to get food, you were taking your life in your hands. So you didn't have time to be in your emotions. And so that's what that's about. So meditation will help with that. This is what meditation and Qigong does. What you can do to overcome that is stop trying to control, because control is about fear and all of that kind of stuff. So the less that you try and control your emotions and your experience, the more of a meditative experience you can have. And your feelings won't destroy you. This is one of the biggest problems that we have. We think our feelings will destroy us. And I get questions all the time whenever people want to work with me. Almost all the time the questions are surrounding, how can I get out of this feeling? How can I change this feeling? And instead of changing the feeling, just change your actions and just let yourself have the feelings. Imagine if you've got a little kid next to you and the little kid is freaking out because he thinks that there's a monster in his closet. So you tell him it's okay to be afraid. You can still, here, let's look at it together. You can be afraid, and I'll open the door and we'll look and we'll turn the light on and see there's no monster in there. So you have to kind of do that with yourself when you're having all these feelings. It's okay to have these feelings. I do this to myself all the time. There's tapping. Have you heard of EFT? If you tap this and you tap this and you I really don't know if that works or if it doesn't. If it does work, great, but there's a little conscious affirmation. I was struggling because I didn't want to use the word mantra, because it's not a mantra really. But the conscious affirmation of, even though I have this feeling, I thoroughly and completely accept myself. Brilliant. Even though I have this feeling, I thoroughly and completely accept myself. That means you don't judge whatever feelings are coming through you at any point in time. The question is, are the feelings there to help you accomplish some kind of self-preservation? And this is something that I go through all the time. Alekia Patria has a question which I'm not going to read because, Alekia, you know the answer to this. Again, Alekia, what are you coming onto my channel for? You're not asking any questions about what I teach. That question right there is obvious. The answer to that question is obvious. It's like basic stuff. Why are you watching my channel? I really want to be helpful to you, but you have to at least ask questions based on what I teach. The answer to your question is you already know the answer to it. I'm not even going to bother explaining it because you already know. I have enough faith in you to know that if you sat there and if I were to say to you, what do you think the answer to that question is? You would come up with the answer. So it's just that simple, man. I don't know why you are the way you are or what's made you do the things that you do or think the way that you think, but I don't want to co-sign it for you anymore. All right, I don't see any other questions here. I've done all the selling I'm going to do on the Immortality package. So we'll leave it at that. Now let me give you some basic stuff about what I've heard about the coronavirus. And this, again, I'm not a medical professional. I'm not a doctor. So I'm not trying to diagnose or cure or treat any disease. I'm only telling you what is readily available. So please avoid, by the way, there's memes going around that are not helpful. One of them is, and I just got this one, I think yesterday, from somebody locally here, somebody that I know, but it was a thing on my Facebook that said that if you gargle salt water or vinegar, that the coronavirus stays in the throat for 4 days before moving into the lungs. And by the time that you've got any symptoms, the coronavirus is in your bloodstream. It's everywhere. You're not going to get it out by gargling something. That's ridiculous. Having said that, from what I have found, which I'm open to be wrong about, but from what I've found, the coronavirus enters the body the same way that a cold or a flu does, meaning it climbs up your nose and it attaches to the snot inside your nose, and that's where it gets a hold. That's why you start with, I don't know if the symptoms are exactly the same, but a cold and the flu, it starts with the nose, right? And the nose gets, the nasal passages in the back, and it gets inflamed, and It's tickly and itchy, and then it moves into the throat, and then there's like a tickle, and then the throat gets sore, and then you get sick, and then it goes into the lungs. It's following the snot. That's how it gets in. So while I've heard that it won't prevent the coronavirus, I have found that cleaning out the nasal passages has been very helpful to me. It's also good if you have like an infection of any kind, if you have a viral infection, cleaning out the nasal passages will prevent secondary bacterial infections. What happens lots of times is people get like a head cold and they're full of snot, and then the snot just sits there and rots, and then bacteria gets in there, just bacteria that's all around, and then you have an infection, and then you're over the cold, and then for 2 weeks you're in bed again and you've got a bacterial infection. So one of the ways to help prevent that is to clean out the nasal passages. I don't have it here with me because I brought it here the first time that I came on vacation, first time I came to Australia, and the electrical system here is different, and even though I had the thing and I plugged it in, the motor burnt out. But I used to have this thing where it's like a water pick. You stick thing up your nose and it just shoots water through and out. It's like using a neti pot, but it was like it was forced. And that I would do that every day and every night. If it was flu season, I would do that 2 or 3 times a day just to reduce the snot in my nose so that flu virus wouldn't find a way in. And I haven't had the flu for years now. If that's because of what I did with my nose or not, I don't know. If it's because I've just, I'm single and I don't go to school and I don't, go to office, so I'm already just semi-isolated. So maybe that has something to do with it. I avoided, and I'm doing that now. I avoid any unnecessary social interaction. So I don't go where there's, like I'm not going to sit in a movie theater right now with a bunch of people out there breathing the same air. I'm not going to do that. And all the other things I said to do, and let's see what else. From what I've recently heard is that it's contact with droplets of water coming out of your mouth. So you're talking to somebody like this, that's how it happens. Or somebody sneezes on you, or they sneeze and it gets onto the counter, and you touch the counter, and then you play with your nose. That's how you get it. So do those things to avoid it. Here's the other thing. Here's some reality about it. I haven't had it, and I have no intention of getting it, so I don't know, but there's a lot of people that have no symptoms. So what we're hearing about the deaths. And the deaths that I've heard, and I'm ready to be wrong, is about 2%. So it's similar to the flu. I think it's more virulent and it causes more death than the flu, but it's still, we're talking 98% of people get it and live. Among those people, a lot of people have minor symptoms, like they'll just have a slight cold and then they'll get over it. Some people don't have any symptoms at all. So if we look at it like that, it's just a new virus. It's not the flu virus, but the flu virus kills people every year. Kills old people and sick people every year. And we don't hear about it, but it happens every single year. And we don't flip out when the flu's going around. So there's no reason to be flipping out about this. It sounds like when the symptoms come that it's not very fun. It sounds like some people have some really nasty symptoms. So I'm not saying it's not nothing, and I'm not saying to not, like, I'm taking precautions. Just simple precautions, like I said. I'm limiting my social interaction. That's great because I can just stay at home and all that kind of stuff because I live by myself and I get more work done that way. And I'm doing all the other stuff that I used to do. I'm taking the zinc and the vitamin C and the vitamin D3. I'm getting sunlight. I'm getting exercise. I'm going to the gym. I'm sleeping a lot, and I'm not worrying about it. And I'm just enjoying my life. So those are some things that you can do as well. So having said that, this doesn't have to be a big deal. My prediction, and I'm open to be wrong about this, my prediction is it's going to be like everything else that's come through. SARS, the bird flu. These things come and they go, and like I said, 98% of the population, it's just not a big deal to them. Um, so I think what's going to happen is when the weather changes and it gets warmer, that what I have seen hearing from professionals is that um, it thrives in cold, dry environment, which is what? Winter. Cold, dry environment. If it's hot and steamy and wet, it doesn't survive very well. So, this is why we don't have the flu going around 12 months out of the year. It comes in the winter and then it's gone. That's why. Because in the winter it's cold, and even though it's snowing or whatever, it's dry and it stays alive longer. And for whatever reason, we tend to be more susceptible to things in cold weather. From what I've seen, that's what it looks like. So it doesn't have to be a big deal, and you don't have to get all bent out of shape about it. But the point that I'm trying to make is that from a spiritual perspective, if you're following your soul desire, you have a dharma. You have a certain amount of life that you're here to live. And as long as you are connected to your soul and you're following your soul's purpose, which is not what God wants you to do or your parents or what you should do, it's what gives you joy. If you follow what is giving you joy, the universe has to keep you healthy. It has to. Because the universe is here to serve you. If you are following your joy, everything in the universe is here to serve you. Everything and everybody. And if you're doing that, that means that everybody, every being, every plant, everything has to make sure that you're healthy and that you survive. Doesn't mean you won't get the flu every now and then or whatever else. It just means that you will be kept alive and you will be healthy. You will be given everything that you need. And in some cases, maybe, again, I'm just hypothesizing here. My hypothesis is that a lot of the people who are getting infected and not having any symptoms are people who are healthy and are following their path. Because the immune system works really well. When you're following your path, your immune system keeps you healthy. So we can just make it that simple. So there doesn't have to be any fear. Having said that, I don't want it. So I'm not going to put myself in situations where I might get it. Okay? Does that make sense? All right. I don't see any more questions. Alekia Patria has been using his discipline, and he has retracted a couple of his questions, which is good, which means that he's stopping himself before he, spews out things that are going to piss me off. Good. Start being your own teacher. In this case, you need to be your own teacher and just listen and just, you know what I mean? There's just no need to constantly be flipping out about nonsensical garbage. And a lot of us know. If we listen to our soul knows what we need. So I don't see any more questions, and I'm starting to babble, so I'm going to call it an evening or an afternoon for me. So that's it. More to come. I wish you all health and happiness. And anybody who gets the PEMF machine, let me know so I can make sure that if you get it through my site, you have to click on the links on my site. It won't cost you anymore, but I'll get the what do you call it? The commission from it. All right, so that's it. Obviously, subscribe and hit the bell button. I'll talk to you guys later.